Here we go. Who the hell are you, man? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
We are the knights!
Hold on to your butt.
And now for something completely different.
Hello out there. Welcome to the Knights and Nerd 2 podcast. We're a podcast for all things nerd with correct audio. My name is Chris. I'm here with...
You know, as soon as I found out the patriarchy wasn't about horses, I kind of lost interest. It's Sam.
You have them lined up, don't you?
Yeah, apparently. I have had the one, so it's just Sean. I'm just taken aback by how Sam's apparently has 15 intros lined up, just in case. Anyways,
and on the Skype hotline we have.
Theory has gotten me nowhere, John.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the one who brought in the starting line, so I feel like I have to come in hot.
See, it's weird that so you, the viewer, we started. We this is our second time recording this, which is kind of depressing.
Technically, it's our third.
Yeah, it is our third. But Sam, it's every time we've started, we've messed up on the intro, and every time Sam has had a different thing to say, and which is amazing because I'm last, so I feel like I should have a bunch in case John or Sam comes up with something I came up with. Sam's first, so no one's stealing his.
Nope.
And yet he has a ton. He's ready to just.
It's every week I usually have two.
Okay.
And I pick one.
All right.
Well, this is what happens when you stay up until 4 a.m. every day. You come up with
it is
with
true.
Intros. Yes. I'm coming over on during the week for one night.
Listen,
I'm just going to come up with 7
if
intros.
you guys want, you want to come up with all these ideas, just get Insomnia.
The movie?
No.
The Christopher Nolan movie?
I did have that, and then I decided, hey, do you guys want to start a podcast? And what happened? That was 6 years ago. So
7, actually.
Is it 7? Oh boy!
Did
it cure your insomnia? Because mine's gotten worse.
Actually, that's true. It has helped.
You know what helps too? Kids.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's get to the main event here, which we postponed a week.
Yep.
We all wanted to see the movies.
The Barbenheimer movies.
Barbenheimer debate here, but we all didn't see the movies. 75% of us saw Oppenheimer, and 50% of us saw Barbie. So
one of us saw both.
We're gonna give you our thoughts on both movies here. We're gonna start off with Oppenheimer because nobody wants to be depressed when they end and go home, right? So let's start with Oppenheimer here, the latest from director, writer, producer Christopher Nolan, and it's a movie about Oppenheimer. I mean, what else do you think is surrounding his sort of academic upbringing, his personal life background, and the inevitable creation of what do they call it at the thing, the device,
Manhattan
right?
Project?
No, the device. Well, they call it I was going to refer to it as the device.
Gadget.
The gadget. That's what it's called. Yeah. Which essentially surrounds the
invention of the atomic bomb.
Manhattan Project and the inevitable ethical debate that follows. So it's a very star-studded cast coming in with I forgot his name already. Jesus. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian.
And Robert Downey Jr. You get a whole bunch of other ones. You got Matt Damon in there as well.
Josh Barnett reminding us all he still exists.
Josh
Hartnett. Sorry.
How come he doesn't get flack? I get flack every time I say something wrong.
I don't know.
I missed a letter.
Josh Peck is in this movie too, from Jake and Josh.
Just because I think Russell Crowe is from Australia, not. Or just his
no, you
but he
should
is, though.
state them.
Russell Crowe is from Australia.
See, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And to be fair, after you're like, oh, he's British, let me play a British band, and then you played U2. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was an amazing moment on this podcast. where you insulted a lot of people.
It's perfectly fine. I'll
Especially since
insult
you're
you
Irish.
two all the time.
Like, to drive it home is the fact that you're Irish.
That's true. Very true. Anyway, so star-studded cast. We get Oppenheimer and Barbie were released on the same weekend, and that kind of created this whole Barbenheimer.
Basically, half of Hollywood did Oppenheimer, the other half did Barbie.
From what it, yeah.
I love that.
Sounds like it.
People have posted like cast photos of like TV shows and been like, "Who's going to see what?" And people are like picking what characters would go see Oppenheimer. Which
So
ones
like
would
they
pick.
took a picture of friends. It's like who's going to see Barbie? Who's well, I mean, they're all going to see Barbie, but
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
and then Matt LeBlanc will just he's Oppenheimer because he like accidentally walked into the wrong theater.
Yeah, like he went to go see Barbie but ended up at Oppenheimer.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Oppenheimer going to see the movie. Nobody dressed up like they did for the Barbie movie.
We'll get into that later.
But
What, you guys didn't Brett wear your best tan suit
no.
with a
Didn't let me in with a
Stetson?
pipe.
No, but I do. Stetson's on the wish list. But all right. So Christopher Nolan has presented us with a 3-hour essentially biopic about Oppenheimer and his task of creating the fission bomb there, and I initially I don't know what to think about this movie, John. You saw it twice. I feel like I need to just to kind of formulate a solid opinion on this movie. I'm very torn because it's a 3-hour movie, guys. It's a 3-hour movie.
A 3-hour movie of people talking.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons that kept me at bay.
Yeah.
Michael Bay, that is.
It's a. It's definitely a 3-hour movie. So initial thoughts.
Joke ever.
Initial thoughts of this movie is like it's very long and it's people talking with people. However, it's not like dull talk either.
Mhm.
It's a lot of scientific talk, which I find interesting.
There's definitely
some don't.
interesting talking going on in this movie.
Yeah, and it's got a whole bunch of other things like the whole backstory of him being a commie or suspected commie and him having
a lot of
leanings and stuff.
dealings with the American Communist Party.
Yeah, exactly. And watching this movie, you essentially know everything already. So you know what's going on.
Yeah, and the story is presented sort of from two frame points where it's like after everything happened and before everything happened. It's fission and fusion is how they're labeled.
They essentially pin it like it's a good versus evil style. I don't even want to say good versus evil. It's like two academics or prominent people going up against each other, and kind of the weird kind of backhandedness of politics and how you really need to like defame one or demerit one in order to kind of progress your career further, which he tried to do anyway. But aside from that, 3-hour movie, it's like a lot of people talking. Christopher Nolan again falls into this whole like the sound is god awful for me.
What was bad? What did you find? Because I thought, you've not seen Tenet if this was bad sound.
No, I haven't seen Tenet, but Christopher Nolan always have this problem with his movies is that it's too loud for me. And I didn't
have that feeling.
It could be I have just incredibly sensitive ears or something, but I find the noise that loud to be wicked annoying. Like atrociously annoying that it takes me out of the movie because there was in the beginning of the movie, it's hyper stylized with him kind of visualizing what like light and waves and stuff, and it's just like a lot of loud noises and things that are just chaos, and that's what it's meant for. Like that's what the noise is there for. But it just really took me out of the movie, and it's not just this; it's his movies in general. I cannot handle his loud noises.
I didn't get that from this movie.
I don't expect a lot of people to. I really don't.
I thought the sound was fine.
There wasn't any towards the end either.
So my thesis with this movie is it's a mile wide and 2 inches deep, where we cover a lot of topics, a lot of people, but not really in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
And like they throw a lot of names at me, and half the time I'm just sitting there like, and they are.
See the names,
but I will say this: it's a good movie,
right?
I don't know if I'd say it is a great movie, but it's definitely a good movie. Like I was never really bored. I liked the topics we were talking about. It's just we never got to the detail I kind of wanted it to be.
I could see that.
Where it's like if we just focused on Oppenheimer post-bomb or Oppenheimer while doing the bomb or Oppenheimer pre-bomb, maybe I'd enjoy it a little bit more.
We did focus a lot on pre-bomb, though.
We did have a lot of pre-bomb, but it's like we never got quite enough.
See, I think we got a lot of pre-bomb, like a lot of his background before the before Los Alamos. I think we got a lot of that, but I think you're right with the name section that we hit a lot of name references where we didn't technically get a good amount of you didn't know who you were talking about. So, it's just like almost like what's the one we watched? All the President's Men. It's like they reference the names. It's like, wait, who, what? And, being from that time, you would recognize those names. But I didn't because obviously we didn't grow up then. But it's almost like the same thing where they're referencing a lot of like German names and Dutch names. And it's just, who are you talking about? I have no idea who you're talking about.
I mean, I knew who Niels Bohr was in Heisenberg, but
yeah, right. But you throw around other ones and it's just, okay, I get it. But, post-bomb, I didn't think we get a lot.
Honestly, I felt like post-bomb would be the more interesting story.
I know.
Yes,
that's when Godzilla shows up.
well, John, you saw this movie twice. I have a feeling where your opinion is. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I did see it twice. I saw it first time in just the traditional format, and then second time around I saw it 70 millimeter IMAX, which I feel like probably better to do it that way than the other way around of going from like the preferred massive screen thing to just regular movie theater. But I absolutely love this movie. This is very far up my alley in terms of the nexus of war and politics and science and building things and paranoia and just finding this to be a real interesting project for Nolan, that it's like so heavily dialogue based, and that it's not to the surprise of anybody, a lot of talking. And I would say too, in the past, like I haven't found, like I wouldn't say Christopher Nolan's strengths lie in like his screenplays. Like there's been some like interesting ideas, although frequently that's largely or more attributed to his brother Jonathan Nolan, who
he's definitely a visual director. He knows how to do visual really, really well.
Right, more of like how he tells the story, not necessarily the story itself. And I found this script to actually be pretty strong. In the framing, he doesn't, it's not like him trying to be like overly cute in the same way like Dunkirk is. There's a lot of cross cutting, but like you're never really too far out of it, or you're never really like don't understand like what's going on or like where this is being set, even though there are some from that. The movie is sort of split up into two sort of perspectives: a subjective one, which is in color, which is mostly like about Oppenheimer, largely pre-bomb, and his sort of insight afterwards, and then the black and white.
The color, I feel like, is all the way up to him losing his security credentials, and black and white is everything after that.
Yeah, that's more or less it. I mean, you sort of have a couple little posts, or there's like that one sort of post scene that is in color, but yeah, by and large, that's sort of what it, sort of what it entails. But no, I just found this to be among his scripts probably one of the strongest. Like it's at times. I mean, I still wouldn't say it's like he's Aaron Sorkin, even though like it's. You could tell me this is an Aaron Sorkin movie, and I would like half believe you.
I wouldn't. Number one,
Really?
everyone's talking like actual human beings.
No,
and number.
I can see what
Wait.
at
What
the
do you
end
mean? Wait,
part.
who's in which situation are people talking like actual human beings?
Not Aaron Sorkin.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Everyone's just speechifying at each other.
Yeah, but
yeah, they weren't going full newsroom of like I'm just gonna give a monologue about the.
Or to make the point,
man.
I'm not criticizing Aaron Sorkin. He's like one of the
Yeah, it's
only
its own thing.
screenwriters who could pull that off.
Yeah, I mean it's like how I feel about Wes Anderson. Like it's its own thing. Don't worry about it. Like I'm not.
once
I know what I went to go see. I know what I bought the ticket for. And in this case, I bought 2 tickets to see what I just found to be a very it's a lot of dialogue, but it moves fast, and we're jumping to a lot of different settings, and it feels very propulsive and building towards something. I mean, building literally towards something, which is the Trinity test in that first atomic explosion. I really liked it. I like that. I know I can see where you're saying, Sam, of that, it's a mile wide and 2 inches deep, and you probably could make 4 or 5 movies of just certain things that happened here, like I would say.
And I don't think it helps where I know some of the background details of like a lot of this stuff where it's like, ooh, that'd be an interesting story, or that'd be an interesting story, or that'd be an interesting story. Because we have a lot of themes about, the state of the American left in the 1930s. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. We have basically the collapse of the Communist Party in the 1940s, which we kind of touch on, but not really the reasons why that happens.
The rise of the military-industrial complex. You
have
McCarthyism was a big part of that.
Right. And why that was such a devastating thing, especially for anyone who's on the American left in the 1930s, which would connect to that.
But I just don't think that that's what the story is. I mean, the story is just a very classic rise and fall of Oppenheimer becoming, or a fundamental force in essentially creating something that has permanently changed human history.
Yeah, and I think part of my issue is that it's just I completely lost the point I was going for.
No, it's the statement. It's Christopher Nolan trying to make the statement. I was having a hard time trying to find what he meant.
Is it what the statement is, or
I got what his statement was, and which was to put it in the simplest term, nuke bad.
I know, but everybody we know.
I don't know if it's that. I don't think it's that clear cut.
No, I think it's very clear cut. I think it's very as a very simplistic take on the nuke.
But if you know anything about Oppenheimer, that's what he essentially thought.
Sort of it's a bit more complicated than that.
No, I mean, the sort of dynamic that, or the, in the movie they make it as if okay, he at least saw a need or a place for sort of tactical fission, bombs, not the hydrogen strategic. Let's more or less we're gonna wipe out, kill each other with it, whereas the other one is just this immense weapon that, like I said, it's a tactical thing. It's I'm gonna take out a city, not kill each other sort of thing.
I will say this, and once again, this is the problem is more me than the movie, is the effectiveness of its message about the nuke, of it being this horrifying bomb, just fell a little flat for me. Mostly because I was just sitting there going, if this is the message you want, why didn't you just turn John Hershey's Hiroshima into a movie? That's a far more effective of just the horrifying effects of a nuclear attack than this movie is.
See, but that's That's
but
what
I
I'm
don't
trying
think
to find
it's
out,
I don't think
though.
it's the literal I don't think it's the literal impact so much as like it's more philosophical than like actual like
But like
here's a
even
bomb going off.
even if it's that philosophical argument, where's the point of since the invention of the nuclear bomb, we've never had a major power conflict of that
Well, that's
that
why well,
dilemma
yeah.
of the bomb where it's maybe it stops us from fighting each other, but is it really worth it to put a gun to the head of the world and say if you fight a war, we'll kill you?
Well, that's
is
what
that
he says,
really
though.
how we want to live?
But that's what he says. I mean, I don't.
They
It
brushed
like it,
brushed
it,
upon that in
it
the movie.
like goes back to
I think it's new.
1
It's
mile
more
wide, 2 inches
nuanced
deep.
than yeah.
It just it brings it up and then just goes nowhere with it. It's there,
But-
and then throws it away.
And I think that leads to the next potential statement that could be determined from this movie. It's like the government is bad because they use the scientists to create this one thing, and then if they have any ethics or
I don't think it's
viewpoints-
the government
See,
bad.
that's what I got out of this. I'm like, what's the statement they're trying to show here? He's trying to show here? Because we had the ethics is bad for the nuke, and it essentially closes out right after his sort of like celebratory speech in the auditorium, right?
Yeah.
And then him viewing the pictures of Hiroshima. So, and then we transitioned into this sort of viewpoint where you need to play by the government's rules now in order to stay on the project, and in essence, maybe have a hand on the wheel of a speeding car. You know, because that's what I got out of this. I'm like, hold on, are they trying to like? There's a whole bunch of people telling him you gotta stay, you gotta like, give in to their demands in order to voice your opinions on what you want to do with. Like, if you don't want to make your fusion bomb, you're essentially out. You have to be on board, and it's just this endless like the scientists are on one side or the other side, and then if it's against the government, they're gonna just have this smear campaign all over you, and you're just not going to get essentially not get the credentials.
I didn't get it was the government, but I got more of it was what's his face, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, of like he just wanted to destroy Oppenheimer, and this was that point of weakness that he could exploit.
Because he was still the head
Oppenheimer's
of
past. And his association.
Well, it wasn't just that. He was the head of the EAC or whatever it is.
And the fact that he didn't want to go along with the H bomb and and just
that was
enough. That was enough of an opening where he jammed that wedge in.
In order for the scientists to gain security clearance to stay on any project with nuclear stuff, you essentially had to agree to make a fusion bomb. That's what I got out of this, even though it was. Obviously, it was more.
I never felt it was never for like, was it Strauss?
Not Levi, but the other, Strauss. Yeah.
But no, Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Yeah, Strauss.
Yeah,
Was it Strauss? I never got for him. It was never about the bomb. It was always that personal, like you turned Einstein against me, sort of deal.
Yeah, it's him being slighted. It's him being embarrassed by him in that congressional hearing that they were talking about, like exporting the isotopes. And it's interesting too because I didn't catch this first time I watched it, but early on you have that episode of Oppenheimer in Cambridge and his instructor embarrassing him. And him just immediately, almost killing him, and like very much having a similar reaction to, being embarrassed and just being taken down a peg. For me, the movie is sort of bifurcated insofar as you have up until, and for me, it's just the shot of the two bombs packaged up after the test. And they're just moving away from you after, very briefly before it, there's a conversation of Oppenheimer talking to some army guys and, Matt Damon of like, okay, do you want me to go with you? You want me to give you, there's some very specific directions. They're like, oh yeah, no, we got it. Like, don't worry, bro. It's a bomb. We know what we're doing. Of just, this thing is like now totally, Pandora's box has been opened and it's just totally out of your control. Because before that, I mean, you sort of have to frame the movie in a way like you can't have the big moment being dropping a bomb that kills tens of thousands of people, and that can't be like the emotional sort of climax of the movie.
Feels
But
kind of emotional and climaxy to me.
not when you're like, but not when it's about building something, and it's a
I don't
building
know.
something movie.
I
No,
feel
it's
like
about it, but you have to though.
Emotional
have to-
climax is going to be this bit character coming in and dropping a bomb in a testimony.
Yeah, well, no, but the big thing though is like there's a difference between the test is like, it's like a scientific achievement in some way. It's not like you sort of get you get sort of like hung up in all of this that like, okay, we're building towards all of this, that this is, an achievement and like we have to do this and we're on the, side of the angels for doing all this, and it goes off and then, just immediately dealing with I mean, I hate saying fallout, but the, fallout from all that afterwards. Like the movie really just changes right there. And I don't know. I found the movie to be more nuanced, I guess, than you guys did.
I felt this movie lacked nuance in a lot of ways, especially the topics it was talking about.
I mean, did you feel like, so, because I mean, oftentimes the movie's situated where Oppenheimer's defending to the people he worked with, people under him, the, morality, philosophic, whatever you want to call it, of, using the bomb or having the bomb, that sort of thing. And he's always defending it. Like he's never really, it's only like when he's dealing with Strauss and really like once, they're sort of talking about like, a hydrogen bomb, that his sort of demeanor around the whole thing changes. You didn't find that at all?
I mean, yeah, I found that. It's just I didn't find that particularly nuanced, where it's like, oh, now that it's real, now it's real. Whereas like there's a lot more nuance going on here about the historical events. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little upset that they did my boy Harry Truman dirty.
Yeah, they really did.
Which, in fairness, that's kind of how that meeting went. Just point of reference. I believe he called.
That is an actual line at the end. Yeah.
No, I believe the actual line is he called him a fucking cretin. But it to me it lacked the nuance of like what the situation was in the summer of 45, of like, if we don't drop this bomb, we could be looking at millions dead instead of thousands. And we don't really get that in there. Like,
so you don't find that whole like discussion at like when they're essentially with the Secretary of Defense or War, whatever it is at the time.
I liked that whole scene, but
it did seem slightly out of place for the rest of the movie.
They almost made it comical.
Oh, the Harry Truman scene, yes.
No. The Secretary of War is like, oh, I have 12 cities. Oh, but we're not doing this one because
I don't know. That sort of feels like how things are done, where it's like,
sure,
yeah,
let
have
the Secretary
a
of War announce you have 12 cities, but I'm going to cross one off because I went to my honeymoon.
Yeah, but like,
tell
I
our
was
war
saying the
cabinet.
cultural significance and
yeah. I mean, it's also it's Kyoto. It's the old capital, but
I get it, but it's just
like I didn't find that.
Have a little bit of sympathy, man.
I mean, that's him having actual sympathy of like, oh, I have a connection here. I know this on an emotional level. So yeah, maybe we shouldn't bomb that.
But you I don't know.
I mean, Chris, I would say the anti, if you want like the anti-government thing, it's way more that like almost every single like authority figure in the movie like pretty much like boasts about like abuses of power that they can have, that like Matt Damon's like, oh yeah, I'll just kill that guy, like, not just kidding.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about when Casey Affleck shows up, which is just like an incredible like 5 or 10 minutes of him just being like coming on board and just being like the fucking devil, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
and then Matt Damon explaining how he was like, I'm gonna like interrogate him the Russian way, and there won't be any witnesses. I mean, that's your Big Brother kind of take on it. That and the whole military industrial complex. But
what'd you guys think about Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh in this?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't entirely sure why Florence Pugh was even in this movie. A lot of that just like happened, and I'm like, cool. Why?
Well, it's part of the hearing because they wanted to show that he still had connections to the Communist Party.
He had plenty of other connections to the Communist Party.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. There's nothing as racy as or like meaty as having an affair with a communist.
Like I mean, like I we don't really expand on the character here. We don't really like keep. I
mean, nobody's really. There's only one character in the thing. Everyone else is just NCO, like non NPCs. Like everyone else is just, hey Oppie,
yeah,
what would you like to do today? I mean that and Downey. I'll say Downey too is sort of like
I don't know. I had the same feeling with Downey where it's like, and you're here, why?
Well,
you have to have an antithesis almost.
You have the antagonist, but like. I sort of felt like, shouldn't the system be the antagonist?
You need a face for it, though.
And for it to be like a hearing about his confirmation as Secretary of Commerce does not seem consequential in the same way that the introduction of nuclear ordinance does.
Yeah. But didn't that,
as sort of a yin yang?
I thought that's what actually happened, though.
Oh, that happened. I'm just saying, like,
dramatically.
It doesn't. It's not exactly, it's yeah, exactly. Dramatically, it's not exactly on par. But
no, I get it. But I mean, this.
But I'll say this: I think Nolan's direction like makes it feel like it is until you sort of think about it a little more. but in the moment, it feels it's very captivating. I just to get back in general, I just really love this movie. I think
this was this was a good movie, right? And my whole thing is like, I don't know if it's a great one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it is, but that's okay. I just feel, and I don't know. I feel like also just all of your other, boatload of that guys, boatload of just people showing up for like 2 scenes, then they're out.
Gary Oldman.
I just thought it was really well cast.
Gary Oldman as Truman just.
I mean,
like, why?
He was terrible at Truman, but
it's also seemed costly as Truman. No, am I wrong? What, maybe 17 words he said the whole time?
Yeah, for to bring in Gary Oldman for that, it just all right. I know you guys have worked together before, but all right.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like you gotta. It can't just be. I'm not saying it has to be Gary Oldman, but it just can't be anybody when it's the president at the end there. I mean, whether you even need that scene is, questionable too. But,
well, the movie's gonna have their fair share of nominations. So, all right, what number? We gotta give it a number.
We're giving a number. I'll start. I'll give it like an 8.4.
8.2.
I'm gonna give it a 9.2.
I figured.
Yeah. All
right. Do we want to bring it up a notch?
Yeah.
Nobody's wearing pink here.
Let's pink it up.
Yeah. So,
John, you sticking around?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We'll try.
For purpose of the podcast, I'm here the whole time.
Try not to spoil it for you.
Well,
no. Say whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this movie. It's really hard to say, like, if I spoil it, it's going to ruin it.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of movie where there's twists and turns.
But anyways, it's Barbie.
It is Barbie.
Directed by Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Written by her and her husband, Noah Baumbach.
And Margot Robbie.
Robbie.
Huge cast.
Well, starring
Margot Robbie.
Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell,
America Ferrera,
Helen Mirren,
Shang-Chi,
Yeah, there's just so many people.
There's
in
a
this
lot.
movie.
There's
so
a lot.
many.
The other half of Hollywood that wasn't
Yes.
in Oppenheimer.
Yes.
And so, Sean,
Yes.
how did you feel about this?
Well, let me start
Curious.
with
The experience of going to the theater in the first place.
Let's start with that. So I have not seen a movie since this movie dropped. So this is my first time back at the movie theaters, which was last night. So it, we went on a Tuesday night. I brought my wife, which is the reason why Sam tagged along, because it's just weird. A guy or two straight dudes just showing up to a Barbie movie.
I don't know. I feel like two guys, I could pull that off.
There's
My
nothing wrong
issue
with
was
that.
I'm a 30-year-old man sitting in the back of a theater watching a Barbie movie. Little creepy.
And we were in the back of the theater.
Yes, but I had other people with
That's
me.
true. The reason why we were in the back of the theater is because it sold out fast.
Tuesday.
On a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
8:00 Tuesday night.
Both of these movies have been bringing in a good amount of money. So
One of them has been bringing in a lot of money.
I mean, Oppenheimer.
Well, Oppenheimer's bringing in a lot, but
400
Barbie is
Oppenheimer's around 400, 450.
Yep.
I just looked it up.
That's a good amount.
Barbie is over
Especially that kind
800.
of-
Yep, that's
It's
Barbie's
probably
going to
pass a
Yep.
billion. Yeah. So one of these movies is being a lot more successful in the box office. But I would say that's because Barbie has more appeal to a larger audience.
Yeah, it definitely has
It's a
a
bigger net.
wider
Yes.
audience
Yep.
for it.
With it being PG-13, with it being, not 3 hours long.
Oppenheimer was R, right?
It was R, yeah. Well, new.
Oh, Florence Pugh. Yep.
We had boobies.
Yep.
And every time Oppenheimer was on screen, he was doing the windmill with his dick. He was like, "Woo!" all those
Honestly,
scenes.
we got
He
pretty
was
close.
naked a few times.
We got pretty close to Oppenheimer.
I mean,
but
if you've seen 28 Days Later, you've seen Cillian Murphy naked. So I mean, it's nothing unique. Anyways,
Anyway, nobody's naked in Barbie.
nobody's naked. Well, no.
even if they were, we have some comments where that probably wouldn't matter.
Yes. Yeah. So it's about Barbie Land, and she's just stereotypical Barbie is Margot Robbie, and there's all these other Barbies, and Barbies rule Barbie Land, and it's really odd in this movie where they really drive home that Ken is an afterthought in this world. Seriously is an afterthought. I mean, there's one point, it's been online where he's like, "Hey, I'm wondering if I could, spend the night." And they're like, "And do what?" He's like, "I don't know." And then she's like, "Well, it's Barbie's dream house, not Ken and Barbie's dream house." So, and then there's another point where they're like, "Where do Ken sleep?" And they're like, I don't know. So Ken is an afterthought in this world. And it's just
Not in the movie, although.
no, definitely not in the movie, but in Barbie Land,
Yes.
he is. And everything is fine and everything's hunky dory until during the dance number, Barbie asks if anybody else has thought about death. Literally, so out of the blue, it is hilarious.
Has anyone else thought about death?
Mid dance number, they're all dancing. It's like a 3-minute long dance number, and right in the middle of it, she asks that question, and then obviously saves it, and they all go back to Barbie Land, and things start falling apart. She has to end up going to the real world, find the little girl who's been playing with her, fix the problem, and then she can go back and be Barbie again. And that is basically
that is the story. Sean,
Yes.
just give me your 1-sentence review of this movie.
Ryan Gosling steals the show.
Kind of does. And I don't know about you, Sean, but this is one of the funniest movies I've seen for a long time.
It has been a while since.
This is hilarious
Yes.
movie.
Yeah,
There are
beginning to end.
so many great lines in this movie.
So many weird references. So the opening of this, so it's narrated by Helen Mirren, and the opening is about Barbie becoming the first non-baby doll for girls to play with. You know, up until Barbie came out, it was all babies. Girls were expected to pretend to be moms. This was the first time they could play with a adult human and, you know, let their imagination go run wild. That, you know, Barbie can be anything kind of thing. But it's played up as 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It's just a parody of 2001.
You know the intro with like Primitive Man and like that
Donovan.
scene, but with Barbie. It's hilarious. Like when he like discovers that the bone can be used as a club and starts beating the crap out of other bones. It's that, but with a little girl and dolls and just destroying dolls. It's like the monolith is Barbie, and the girl's like, and, like touching It's hilarious. And like I went into this being like, this can't be as good. It's gonna be like, Well, I saw that scene and I lost it. I was like, I'm in 100% in on this movie.
Like I remember hearing, was it Margot Robbie said where like she agreed to this movie where it's like there's no possible way they would allow this movie to be made. I totally understand it now.
Yes.
Since like Mattel, the people who had to okay this kind of come off as the villains a little bit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Where like just they're like not great, but they're also not really the villain. Like nobody really comes off as the villain in this.
Right.
It's kind of just like nebulous of like life kind of sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that just ends up being sort of the villain.
Yeah, but like it's great how like so that you talk to anybody who hated this movie and they're going to be like the patriarchy, they kept bringing it up, and that's what sucks about this. Like I never got the idea, like Ken summed it up perfectly, which was your intro where like he figures out what the patriarchy is, brings it back to Barbie Land, all the Kens take control, and then he's like when the Barbies take control back, he's like, yeah, I never really understood what patriarchy was. I thought it was about horses. When I found out it wasn't, I lost interest.
No, it's definitely where like you get the vibe where it's like, listen, the patriarchy, we kind of just go along with it because none of us really know what else to do. So, like, we just kind of go along with it.
But, like, it's a weird movie where you think that it would be, like, not to be too political, but, like, yay, feminism, like, women's movement. But, like, this movie also shows, like, how the Kens are oppressed in Barbie Land. Like, horribly oppressed. Like,
it's a weird movie. It roasts the patriarchy, but it also roasts the matriarchy.
Yeah.
It roasts Mattel.
Oh,
it roasts just the concept of Barbie itself.
Yep.
It roasts the concept of rebellion. It roasts like everything.
Yeah. It's like they're like, this is what our movie's about, and they just lit it all on fire. And they're like, flicking it off, like, screw you.
But like at the same time, it's also like, but yeah, is it like kind of all this kind of fun?
Yeah. I mean,
is it make believe kind of fun?
Yeah. I mean, it is the most bizarre movie I've seen in a long time.
There's weird moments where I was like, this is Brazil.
Yeah.
Like in the Mattel.
Yeah. So Mattel offices.
The movie, by the way, not the country.
Yeah, the movie Brazil by what's his face from Monty Python. So like they show Mattel and it's like solid brick, no windows, like inside the offices. Everyone has their own cubicle without a door. There's no doors to the cubicles. They're just like kind of stuck in there. And like, it's super depressing. And the guy finds out Barbie's in the real world. So he takes it upstairs to
the FBI calls him. And it's like, you got to get a handle on this. There's a Barbie in the real world.
But like it, it shows the split scene between the two talking. So it shows the FBI headquarters and then Mattel. And Mattel looks so depressed because it's just like drab, gray, like no light. Like it's very depressing. And then you see the FBI and it's like colorful and people are talking and
like
moving
also
around.
Just like these like small cubicles.
Right. It's like kind of the same thing, but like
they have windows.
Yeah, they have windows, so they're letting in the natural light. But like he goes up to the Mattel like board of directors and it's all men. It's all men.
Listen,
The
Sean.
only woman up there is the secretary.
Listen, Sean. Women are the central of this building. This giant phallic-shaped building.
Which brings up another point. This might be one of the best Will Ferrell movies I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, he's great in this.
And like, granted, it's kind of a bit part, but he's hilarious.
Just one-liners left
Yeah.
and right.
It's,
I don't know if you noticed, Sean, with that whole like Mattel board meeting thing. Did you notice what was in the back the entire time?
what?
A building with a big old sign that said Warner Brothers Discovery on it. So it's like, oh yeah, let's just shit on the people who are producing this as well.
Oh man, yeah. Like it's such a bizarre movie.
It is
to
a
get
very
made.
bizarre but amazing movie that, I loved this movie.
100% loved this movie. Like, I would go see it again if it wasn't for the fact that movie theaters were packed and half the people in there were just like pinking it out.
Yeah.
My God. Like, there was a group of women older than us walking in dressed in all pink, saw a couple girls in line for concessions wearing pink, and they were like, looking good, ladies, as they walked by them. Like, this was insane.
When Christina told me she was going to see this movie with, I think it was my sister actually. She's like, "Oh, you want to go see Barbie?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." She goes, "I want to go see Barbie." I'm like, "All right, call somebody. You can go with you guys, or go with somebody else." And then she chose the night, and then she walks out of the bedroom, and as I'm walking away from the kitchen, and she's just decked out in this pink dress. I'm like, "What? What?"
Yeah, people.
And then
really went
that's
hardcore.
when I realized that this thing is gonna be huge.
Oh yeah,
Chris,
That moment.
I'm going to be completely honest. You're not going to hate this movie.
no, not at all.
I don't think I'll hate it.
No.
I don't think I'll love it, but I
No,
just
I
have
think
no
you might love
intention
it.
of
It is-
seeing it. I
it
have
is
no intention of
hilarious.
seeing it.
You like this
I'm sure I'll be forced to rent it when it comes out,
or buy it?
and then I'll have to view it then.
It is worth the viewing. It is really.
I'm sure.
So, there-
Time wise, it will be worth it.
There, like the one scene that from the trailer that scared me is the flat feet scene, and like I was afraid that was going to be more or less the humor of this movie, and luckily it wasn't.
Yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, flat feet.
It was like,
that's funny.
and then once like Ken was on the the tower on the beach, and he was just like, just dry heaving. And he's like, I'm okay. Yeah, no, like I thought that was great. But yeah, there's two musical numbers in this. The first one being in the beginning, which I was like, my God, let it end. I was like, because it's the beginning of the movie. You're like, you're still
Everything
getting
is
your feet
happy
wet.
in Happy Land.
Yeah, you're getting your feet wet, and you're like, why is there a dance number going on? But like, you see Ryan Gosling, and like, he's hilarious the whole time because he's always like super serious, and they're like doing these weird dances with their arms, and he's like staring down the other Ken that he has a rival with, and it's hysterical. But like that one, whatever. The musical number at the climax of the movie,
The
which
Ken
is
one?
I think it's called like I'm Ken or
Yeah.
something like that, where it's Ryan Gosling singing about being
Which
Ken.
I read the composer made that song as a joke
Really
and then presented to Greta Gerwig, and she's like, "Oh, we're putting this in."
good. Yeah. So he's singing it as he's preparing for and then going to war against the other Kens with his army of Kens.
Which, like, him and his rival Ken have this meetup, and then they expose their bare chests to each other, and then just the power of machismo creates this alternate reality of just like a dance-off that's vaguely like Grease.
very much like Grease.
And it's hard to explain why that's so amazing.
Oh yeah, no, like I don't think I can describe why that scene is amazing, but it is. And like during the whole fight, they're like shooting bows and arrows and like hitting each other with tennis rackets. And the board of directors of Mattel are walking through the fight. And like one of them's like, they don't have real weapons, do they? And Will Ferrell's like, no, it's all fake. And then the guy gets shot.
But I thought they didn't have real weapons.
Like it. Oh my god. But yeah, that whole fight sequence is like really what cemented this movie as like an amazing movie, because it's like stupidly choreographed. Like just you watch any of the extra like people in the background, they're really not doing anything. Like usually when you watch a well choreographed fight scene, like there's good stuff going on in the background.
Yeah, they're mostly just flexing at each other.
Like there's nothing going on, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Is like it's supposed to, a bunch of guys who don't know how to fight are fighting with tennis rackets and like bows and arrows with suction cups on the end of them. Like, and like they storm the beaches like Normandy. Like it's so bizarre, but amazing. I like, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to go see this movie.
It is honestly just amazing.
Like I will never regret seeing this movie. Yeah, like
This is everything I wanted this movie
so
to
many
be.
like cameos and stuff.
But Sean, let's talk about the real hero of this movie.
Okay.
Alan,
yes. Michael Cera somehow becoming a true hero of this movie.
like he's kind of barely in it, but every scene with him is golden. Just him, like once the kids take over Barbie Land, when he's trying to escape, where it's like, if I have to sit on another leather couch again, I will lose my mind. And he just beats up the construction workers.
Well, they're having like the mother daughter talk, and just in the background, he's just beating the shit
Like
out of the
choking a
construction.
guy out. Shh, go to sleep.
Oh, he's choking him out with his shovel. He's like, shh, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Like Michael Cera, like going ape shit against a bunch of like muscular dudes. It's amazing.
Like they're shouting out like lines from like the advertising on the box. It's like, he's Ken's best friend. His clothes fit him too. Or just the random like call outs to just weird Barbie toys over the years. Where's her friend Margaret, the pregnant one?
Oh yeah, and like Will Ferrell
Or
sees
Margie.
her. He's like, oh god.
Oh, thank God we discontinued you.
Oh my! And yeah, they bring up a bunch of like weird Barbies that have been like tried out in the past, and they're all true. Like they're all real Barbies.
Sugar Daddy Ken.
Yeah, Sugar Daddy Ken. It's like, what? And they're like, no. The dog's name is Sugar. I'm her daddy. That's weird. Yeah. It's so hard to sit
Interesting.
down.
This comes from Lady Bird director.
Yeah. I mean,
Did you see Lady Bird?
No.
Like, as someone who's watched both Lady Bird and Little Women, I have not watched her first directing movie. But
which is what?
I forget the name of it. It was a while ago, but like, this is honestly not that surprising.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of her movies. It's definitely leans a hell of a lot more into the comedy than her other ones.
Yeah.
She's made dramedies, especially Little Women, which is just a straight comedy, but drama. But like, this is the kind of movie she makes.
Yeah.
Where it's hard to explain.
Yeah. This whole movie is kind of like a commentary on society in general without really picking a side.
No, yeah, and that's kind of where it's like her movies are very much about, listen, we're all just trying to get by.
Yeah.
And even though we're all trying to get by, it gets a little fucky wucky sometimes. But like, we're all just trying to get by.
Yeah. I mean, It's
I'm
always
just thinking of so many great lines.
and like there's so many things that I
at the
don't
end.
want to.
Well, I guess don't tell all the
say the
lines.
No. I won't spoil the end, but yeah, she has her ghost has an office on the 7th floor.
Oh yeah, Oh my god. Yeah, it's amazing that they were able to make this movie.
Yeah, it's
And-
definitely like Mattel just being like, "Fuck it, go ahead."
Yeah,
Well,
like,
I
they were
mean,
like,
that's what they just did is
oh
announced.
yeah. I mean, after they
dozen or
found
so
out that
movies.
this movie was going to make them millions, if not billions of dollars, they were like,
Especially at the end where was it America Ferrera is like, what about ordinary Barbie? You know,
yeah.
she's not great
yeah.
at anything, but she's just getting by.
"That's a terrible idea. It's going to make us millions." That's an amazing idea. Yeah. Yeah. Especially after Mattel tried with the movies with like, was it Max Steel, which I saw 3 times in a 2-day period, unfortunately, because of all you assholes. No, I watched it once. Then Amy was like, "But I want to see it." So I watched it with her, and then you guys came over and you were like, "But we want to see it." And I was like, "Screw you guys." Yeah, that's on another podcast episode
go listen to
many
that.
years ago. With me complaining about having to see that movie 3 times in 2 days. But like, yeah, I mean, props to this movie. It's odd when, I shouldn't say it's odd. It shows you that if you have a property that you want to make a movie out of, and you give that into the right hands, not Michael Bay, that it can be a good movie.
Yeah.
And I all too often, as Michael Bay and Star Wars included, where you have a property and you give it to a well-known director that's like maybe not the best well-known director, but a well-known director, that it's going to fail because you have like 17 writers in the studio trying to write this thing.
Yeah.
Just give it to somebody who's competent, that can write a script, like, has a history.
Isn't it? I don't know if you got this vibe, but where it's like it's weirdly also a parody of IP movies as well.
Mm-hmm. It sucks with like what's going on in the world outside, but like in the beginning, the song that is Lizzo singing it.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Great. Like
She's
two-part
just narrating what Barbie's doing.
Yeah, the whole time. It's hilarious. Especially the second time. The second time is even better. But anyways, it's just like so much is going on in this movie that it's like really hard to put my finger down on like what, like you said, Sam, where the message is anything but like everything sucks.
Everything sucks, but at the same time, it also kind of doesn't.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Like, yeah, it sucks, but like, it's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
we're all just trying to get by. And
Yeah.
You know what? That's perfectly all right.
we're all trying to find our place in this world. And whether it's in Barbie Land or
And to think, you all were like, Sam wants to see Barbie
no, yeah, you were the first person in
because
this
it
group.
was Greta Gerwig, and I'm like, I love her movies,
Yeah.
and this is such a weird turn for her.
I had, so when it came to Barbenheimer, before the reviews came out, I looked at it and I went, Oppenheimer. It's going to be between like high 80s, low 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. I just already know that. Barbie, I have no clue. I was like, maybe it's going to be in the 90s. Maybe it's going to be in the 20s. I don't know, because it was so hard from the trailers to really judge what this movie is.
In fairness, how do you sell this movie?
You don't.
You said just on nostalgia.
Okay, so
nostalgia
the trailer for this movie, I think it was the second trailer, did it best where they said, we're like, do you love Barbie? This is the movie for you. Do you hate Barbie? This is the movie for you. Because yes, it is the movie for you if you're on either end of the spectrum. Like, it shits on Barbie.
They leaned into it.
Yeah, well, it shits on Barbie while like
Celebrating
hoisting it
her.
up and out celebrating her history and what she's done for women in society. Like, it's amazing that I will always keep going back to this fact that like this movie should not have been made.
And
I'm
think,
glad it is.
I'm glad it is. And we're also skipping over the most important part. John Cena's a mermaid.
That is true. Merman.
Sorry.
Merken.
I feel like I knew this, but
Yes, John Cena's in it. He has a few
And
scenes.
you
I'm
know
sure
what,
there's
Sean?
a few
I don't know
others in
about
it.
you. I kind of want to own that. I'm Knuff.
Oh,
shirt.
I'm Knuff. Yeah, I have a friend on that I graduated in high school with, whose name is really close to Knuff, and so people have been searching for that shirt, but have been redirecting to his website because he's a bodybuilder.
Mm.
And so like he's getting a ton of traffic. Like he posted it on Facebook, like tons of traffic on his website looking for shirts with his name on it. And he was like, I had no idea what was going on until I saw the Barbie movie. And I realized everybody's looking for the I'm Knuff.
John Cena shirt.
No, it's not John Cena. It's the one that
It's I'm enough, but with a K in
K.
front of
Well,
it. Enough.
yeah, I got
but
it.
it's Ryan Gosling wears it at the end.
Like immediately after he makes that turn as a character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like Ken is very complex of a character for somebody who's an afterthought.
Yes.
Um,
Well, you want to give this movie a
let's
rating?
give it a rating. This is going to be the weirdest rating.
You can go first, John.
I might go with like an 8.7.
8.7. I'm giving this a 9.2.
Woo! All right.
This movie's amazing.
It is like I'm close to a 9, but not quite there.
Okay.
But the
All right,
runtime is
all right.
great too. It's under 2 hours. I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like just under 2 hours.
It's such a good selling point. Is runtime
Yeah.
nowadays? It's such a good
Nowadays-
selling point.
There's no reason to be over 2 hours unless it's like an actual complex kind of plot.
Oppenheimer.
Sure.
No complex plot. Just Oppenheimer. Okay. So we did it. We completed the Barbenheimer.
Yeah. Well, one of us did.
Well, yeah. It was,
I was
one of you
never
guys
gonna
did.
complete it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's probably
Guys talking for 3 hours. I'm out.
Girls talking for 3 hours. I'm in.
Yeah. They rode rollerblades.
true. If you don't forget them.
Several people did.
Let's. All right.
Yes.
All right. So next week I think we got another. We give another 2 for
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well as the Meg 2.
The Trench.
The Trench. So we'll be tackling that next week, and I think we'll wrap up final thoughts on Secret Invasion.
Yep. We'll do Secret Invasion.
And then
maybe we'll touch
maybe a
upon-
little Twisted Metal. Maybe we'll touch Twisted
yeah,
Metal.
We'll,
So
we'll touch on that.
all right. Well, if you like all the episodes, you can find them on all the streamers. Send us a message on Facebook, facebook.com/Nights That does it for us for this week. Until next time.
Bye.
Adios.